Well, alright, what is up, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. You know what it is, you know what's up. If you don't want to hear the extra stuff that I'm about to talk about, timestamps right down below for you. So, once again, obviously there's no news about Pokemon, and the only thing tiding us over with that is Pokemon Unite right now, which is pretty good because everybody's having a lot of fun with it, or they're very frustrated with it, but they're still playing it, so that's kind of a good thing, I think. And obviously, I play a hell of a lot more than just Pokemon games and mainline Pokemon games, so playing this, I've been enjoying it and I don't mind talking about it. So, you know, apologies to anybody that was expecting a usual basic discussion video talking about the mainline series. We'll always come back to it, don't worry. However, you know, we gotta take some twists and turns every now and again, you know what I mean? So, as long as there's somebody around who enjoys this little discussion series talking about Pokemon Unite, I'm here to do it. That's totally fine by me. Now, when it comes to Pokemon Unite, I'll be completely honest with you guys, I haven't even gotten to try all of the characters yet. Since I'm a mostly free-to-play player, I'm a little bit reliant on the rotation, so I can only play characters when they pop up a lot of the time. And quite clearly, unfortunately, my addiction isn't bad enough to have me sitting on that game for like 6 to 7 hours a day. Not that I'm flaming anybody who is. If you enjoy the game, go ahead. I'm just, not that powerful enough, I guess. Either way, Tencent is shady, and I'm not desperate enough to sit there and buy all of the characters' Unite licenses right now, so I'm just gonna wait and get them one at a time while I play. I bring this up because general knowledge of the roster that you're playing on is kind of necessary when picking out characters that you think deserve to be on the roster. I should probably have a better idea of how the defensive characters work, how the heavy attackers work, how the supporters work, and things like that. And as of right now, I still haven't even had the chance to play as Snorlax or Edelgast. I also missed my chance to play as Mr. Mime, who was apparently really good. However, I really wanted to try Absol and Greninja first. Both of which are phenomenal picks for this game, by the way. Awesome choices. But either way, that leads us right back to this video where I'm going to be talking about characters that I want. However, on this list, it's going to be kind of a mix. Besides just talking about characters that I want in, I'm also talking about Pokemon that I think deserve an actual spot. I'll be real, not all of my choices are completely logical. You guys might see that, I might not. You guys tell me. And so with that, why don't we start getting into the main point of the video. In my last Pokemon Unite video, I saw that a couple of you guys were asking for Pokemon that I'd want to see in the game. And frankly, I figured that idea sounded kind of fun because obviously, as an avid Pokemon lover, there's other Pokemon that I would love to see come to this game, and including them seems so easy considering the fact that we just got Gardevoir just thrown in there, and it just made sense. We're expecting quite the heavy roster by the time this game is about 2 years old, which means that they probably have plenty of Pokemon and ideas for Pokemon that they could add to this game. As of right now, we know for a fact that Blastoise is on the way, and if I heard correctly, I also believe that Chansey is on the way, or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure, but both phenomenal additions. They both make plenty of sense. Okay, so who else are you guys dropping? I'm kind of curious, I want to know. Well, regardless of who we do and who we don't know, why don't we go ahead and talk about my little wish list of sorts of characters that I'd love to see in Pokemon Unite. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this one right out of the way because this one is completely obvious and everybody saw it coming. The Shinx line. I really do genuinely want Shinx to Luxray in this game. As many gags and jokes that we make on this channel about Shinx, I am very genuine about it being one of my favorite Pokemon. And as far as 4th gen reps go, I don't think 2 is enough. Especially considering the fact that 4th gen remakes are around the corner, so, you know, the best way to represent that and really, you know, advertise that a little bit more is to have a couple more 4th gen reps, and Shinx is pretty damn important. This is not a joke. Okay, so we have the Shinx to Luxray line in the game. What's the moveset looking like? Well, I'll be completely honest with you guys, looking at its level up moveset, it would be kinda hard to differentiate it from Zeraora. And then to top that off, its stats naturally are just not as good as Zeraora's. So in this particular situation, we'd have to rework Luxray a little bit. For example, it'd be totally fine to have it start with its regular level up moves like Tackle and Charge. However, I wouldn't give it anything like Spark or Volt Switch. Those are moves that are actually already available to both Pikachu and Zeraora. However, it is an up-close attacker, and it does rely a lot more on biting than a lot of other Pokemon. So, in that sense, I would give it access to moves like Crunch and possibly Thunder Fang. You could debatably give it the other Fang moves depending on what kind of status effects you want to leave on your opponents, but that one's completely up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think about that one. Even though it is an electric type, surprisingly, its speed stat is not all that great, so it would not be a speedster of any form. However, it does have a decent attack stat, which would make it kind of a glass cannon in a sense. In that scenario, it would kind of put it on the same plane as Pikachu as an attacker, but difference is it would not be long range at all. That's totally, completely Pikachu. All in all, it would be kind of weird and kind of hard to fit in, so I could kind of see it as a C tier at the end of the day, but personally, I would not give a damn. I would do everything necessary to learn how to main it and do the best setups you could possibly think of for this thing. Whatever I would have to do, doesn't matter to me. Okay, why don't we move along here? The next Pokemon that I would love to consider is the Flygon line. I am actually baffled as to how underrated Flygon is as a Pokemon. Back in Gen 3, it was honestly one of my favorite Pokemon to use. I don't understand how people didn't really care for that Pokemon more. I'm still baffled to why it doesn't even have a Mega Evolution when we got the Gen 3 remakes. I'm just astonished. Maybe Flygon just isn't as popular as I think it is, but whatever the case, I think it would make an awesome addition to this roster. Doing some research on it, I could see why it doesn't really keep up with a lot of the other dragon types. However, as a ground type, it does phenomenal. So that's what we could focus on when giving it its movesets. So obviously, to start things off, we would give it something like Feint Attack and maybe Bite. And to be more specific, when I say Feint Attack, I mean the one with an E, not the one with an A. As you level up Trapinch and it eventually evolves into Vibrava, I would then go ahead and give it moves along the lines of Sand Tomb and possibly Bug Buzz. Fun fact, I only realized very recently that it learned Bug Buzz as a level up move. I don't think that was a thing in the previous generations, but we're in Generation 8 now, so I think it's okay to just go ahead and slip that in. However, if you don't care too much for Bug Buzz as a move on this Pokemon, why don't we go ahead and maybe replace it with something along the lines of, I don't know, Rock Slide maybe. I think that's a pretty solid move. Also, I'm not sure if that one's even been used on a Pokemon yet, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Now, one of its final option for one of its better moves is kind of debatable for me because you could run a special or a physical Flygon. So the final move kind of depends on how they want to run this character. If they're thinking more along the lines of a special attacking Flygon, then we would get something along the lines of Earth Power. If we're going physical, we're going in with Earthquake, straight up. In this situation, I feel like they would more likely lean towards a special attacker since as far as physical attacking ground type moves go, we kind of have Garchomp for that. So if we want a ranged game that's a little more flimsier than Garchomp, I think that's where they would lead with Flygon, hence why you would be a special attacker. You want to keep away, but you also want to deal some serious damage. Or at least that's my general take on it. I'm actually not really sure that they would ever add this Pokemon considering that we already have a ground dragon type, but as one of the fan favorites, I really do think that Flygon would be pretty awesome. Unlike Garchomp, I feel that Flygon would fit a lot better as a speedster than an attacker. I'm sure that without the right setups, I think it'd end up being a solid B tier character, maybe A tier or higher with the correct setups. The one thing I can say for sure though is that you would absolutely need to get your hands on the Fluffy Tail so that you could gain levels a little bit faster when you're Trapinch, because there's no way in hell you're doing any real damage as a Trapinch. Okay, so as I was doing this, I actually decided that an even better Gen 3 rep to sit alongside Absol than Flygon would actually be Metagross. It has a more unique typing, and it's definitely a hell of a lot more popular than Flygon, especially because it was literally the champion's partner. Now hear me out here, because I think that Metagross would be pretty awesome starting off as a Beldum. So if we're starting with a Beldum, obviously one of its moves has to be Takedown. If we didn't, it would be just as illegal as an Aber without Teleport. Now for its other move that it learns at the beginning of the game, I'm going to be a little bit flexible here and I'm going to give it Iron Defense, only because it takes a little while for Beldum to level up and learn new moves, especially when it's just at its starting phase. When evolving into Metang, I would imagine it would get moves along the lines of maybe Confusion or possibly Bullet Punch or maybe Metal Claw. And then for one of its final moves, I nominate Zen Headbutt, Meteor Mash, and possibly, if you want to get crazy, Hammer Arm. Unless Machamp already has that, but I've never played as Machamp, so I have no idea. Overall, Metagross would 100% be an absolute wall to overcome when trying to dunk points in. And y'all better pray that that Metagross does not have some kind of healer behind it, because if it does, y'all better run away and pray that you live to fight another day. Or another minute, because you only have about 10 minutes in the match. So with that, Metagross would be a phenomenal defender, and I would leave it at A tier and possibly even S tier with the correct setups. And you would think that Metagross would be super slow getting around, but I almost forgot that Metagross floats, so I think it would do just fine on the field. Moving along from that, my next nomination for a good character would actually be Dragonite. Besides the obvious picks like Charizard or maybe Mewtwo, if they would ever do something crazy like that, Dragonite would be a phenomenal choice from first gen. Or at the very least, a phenomenal pick that's not a frickin' starter. I mean, come on, there's plenty of Pokemon that we could choose from, but at the very least, Dragonite's a fan favorite. And also, personally, I would just love to watch the field and see a Dragonite go toe-to-toe with a frickin' Garchomp. Tell me that would not be crazy. You'd be lying to me, but whatever. Because it's starting off as a Dratini, the best moves that it would obviously have would be Wrap and Twister. As it levels up and eventually becomes Dragonair, the other moves that it would have options to would most likely be Dragon Tail or Aqua Tail. Based on the abilities of the original moves, I feel like Dragon Tail would have some kind of knockaway effect, while Aqua Tail has some kind of dragging in effect. Kind of makes sense to have them have some kind of opposite deal when it comes to the abilities, cause it really depends on what kind of Dragonite you want to run. And then finally, for one of its better moves, I would nominate either Outrage or Hyper Beam. Again, it really depends on how they decide to build that character, or if you decide you want to run an up close and personal type of Dragonite, or you're trying to keep away. I don't know, up to you. Without the proper items on him, I don't really know how fast the Dragonite would be, and I can't imagine he would be too quick, because that would be crazy unfair to have a powerhouse that fast, so I don't think that would make him too fast. I think it'd be safe to slap a character like this one on either B or C tier. Moving along, my next contender is actually Scizor. Now correct me if I'm wrong here, but looking back on the roster that we have currently, for some weird reason, we do not appear to have any Gen 2 reps. I'm not exactly sure as to why we don't have any Gen 2 reps, but I think that Scizor would fill that void very nicely. It's got a clean typing, it's got a phenomenal design, and it's definitely considered popular enough to be a good character for spin-offs, especially for things like Pokken Tournament. This is a whole ass perfect character that y'all are sitting there sleeping on, and I am not going to sit there and accept that. Now personally to me, it doesn't really matter if it decides to start off as a Scyther or not. Even Lucario doesn't start off as Riolu, so I don't really think it makes much of a difference at the end of the day. Though I will say it is definitely a hell of a lot more satisfying to get that evolution mid-match. So with that, under the assumption that it starts off as a Scyther, we would start off with moves like Wing Attack and Leer. Eventually we'd get our hands on something like Cut or possibly Metal Claw, maybe we evolved by this point already. And then for some of its final moves, I nominate either Iron Head or X-Scissor. I mean hell, what can I say? Scizor is an attacker through and through, we know this. Usually it's pretty damn flimsy towards fire types, but because typings don't really matter in this game, I think it could be a hell of a threat. Otherwise though, it usually has decent defense and attack with a decent amount of speed. Scizor is an up close and personal attacker, and with that I would probably go ahead and slap that on B tier, A tier with the right setups. Moving along here, I've got a couple of weird ones for you, starting with my first nomination, which would be Dracopult. My primary reason for nominating this Pokemon is simply because it was easily one of the best competitive Pokemon to come out of 8th gen, and honestly, I think that could transfer over to Unite pretty damn well. This one definitely has to evolve because it's a 3-stage, so obviously we would start off with Dreepy. For its starting moves, I would give it access to Astonish and Infestation. As it levels up and evolves in the Dracloak, it would eventually gain access to moves like Double Hit or Phantom Force. And then obviously one of the best moves that you could put on it would be its signature move, which is Dragon Darts. Dracopult would absolutely be slapped in amongst the speedsters because of its obviously good speed, good attack, and very flimsy defense. It's absolutely a glass cannon, but a really good one at that. So I see a phenomenal A tier in this one, and even possibly an S tier with the proper item setups. Now let's get really weird. I've listed off a lot of different attackers and speedsters and even defenders, but I haven't mentioned a lot of supporters, so I'm gonna throw one in there for you. Alcremie. We're obviously in desperate need of a lot more supporting Pokemon, and 8th gen is probably going to get a lot more love down the line with this game, so we may as well have the best of both worlds. Of a lot of the supporting options to choose from, I think that Alcremie is frankly a sick Pokemon. If we're starting off with Milcery, the moves that it would likely start off with would be Tackle and Sweet Kiss. I assume that it would evolve quickly, and by that time I imagine it would have access to moves such as Draining Kiss and Aromatherapy. I was a little on the fence about Aromatherapy, however, now that I think about it, I feel like it would be very useful against Pokemon that leave status effects like Gengar and pretty much any other fire-type Pokemon. And then for one of its final moves, I would nominate either Recovery or Draining Kiss. Alcremie is through and through a support Pokemon, and with the right setups, it could definitely help push, and I would slap it around the maybe A or B tier. Not one of my favorites personally, however, I think it was a solid Pokemon in 8th gen. I thought that was a good one, so hell, why not? And for my final pick, let's get crazy with it. I personally would love to see Melmetal. Now, just in general, Melmetal as a Pokemon is completely forgotten about and underrated. I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons for that, though, is because of its awkward origin. Its debut was in Pokemon Go of all things. It was very weird to obtain, and very stressful. And then the first quote-unquote mainline game that it made it into was Pokemon Let's Go, which again, in of itself is a very awkward game. So really, I guess it technically kind of qualifies as a Gen 7 Pokemon because we didn't have Gen 8 yet, but it's in that weird middle ground with Let's Go and Pokemon Go, so I really don't know what to say about that one. What I will say on the other hand though, is that Melmetal absolutely deserves more recognition and more love, and I think that Unite is a very good way to make that happen. Just because it would be very cute and very fun, it should absolutely start off as Meltan, but we already know that it's gonna evolve into a tank. So for its starting moves, I would throw on Headbutt and then maybe Acid Armor or possibly just Harden. And then as it levels up and possibly evolves, I would give it options to either Flash Cannon or Mega Punch. And possibly for its signature move, I would love to go ahead and throw in Double Iron Bash. So while it's an electric type, it's kind of funny that it usually doesn't capitalize on that typing very much, but I don't really think that it needs to all that much. We have two fine electric types that go kind of crazy on the field as it is, so we don't really need another electric type going nuts on the field like that. Focusing mainly on its steel typing is more than fine. Now, as far as his class goes, I'm not really sure if he would fit better as an attacker or a defender. I think he'd be phenomenal as an attacker, but I also feel that he's too slow and way too up close and personal. So in a sense, I guess it would be kind of the same situation as Metagross, where he would be a decent defender, even though he's not really using Protect or anything like that, but I don't know, I think it could work out. He also doesn't really heal himself like Snorlax, so I'm really unsure, but I guess we'll find out when we find out. If we find out. So that just about wraps up all of my initial ideas for Pokemon that I'd love to see as characters for Pokemon Unite. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are definitely plenty of other Pokemon that I would absolutely love to see on this roster, and if you guys want to hear more of those characters, don't hesitate to let me know. A part 2 of this sounds like a fun ass time. I had a great time just listing off Pokemon that would be sick for Pokemon Unite. Fun, very fun. However though, while I do have other ideas, I don't think it would be fair for me to hog the mic. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pass that one to you. Why don't we go ahead and turn this up a notch? If there's a character that you want to see in Pokemon Unite, put it in the comment section below. And if there's enough comments, maybe we could make a video talking about your guys' highly requested characters for Pokemon Unite, because that also sounds like fun. I would love to hear what unique Pokemon out of the 800 plus that we have access to that you guys would love to see on this roster. I'm actually curious. Let me know. I'm down to make a video on that. However, it looks like it's about skedaddle o'clock time, so I'm gonna go ahead and do just that. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm gonna get up out. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!